What we'll do now is we're going to welcome our Assistant Director of the Office of Student Involvement, Britton Williams, to present on what is your role as a student advisor.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Richard mentioned, my name is Britton Williams. I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of Student Involvement. I am a new face here. I just started in the office at the beginning of January, so I have not been here for very long, but I'm very excited to be here this afternoon to talk to all of you. My main responsibilities include working with all of our work studies, our graduate assistants, and our coordinators in our office, but also I have the opportunity to advise and work very closely with all of our social three-letter organizations on campus. So I am an advisor like you, and I have many of the same questions and struggles and challenges that I know we'll be talking about today. So Richard asked me to pose the question, what is your role as a student organization advisor? And before I get to that question, I want to see by a show of hands how long you all have been advising for. I hope we have a broad range of length of time of how long you've been advising. So is there anyone that's been advising their organization or one of the organizations that they've been advising for less than a year? Okay, about less than 5 years. Yes, okay. Less than 10 years. We got some members here. And then more than 10 years. All right. How long? Can you tell me how long? 15. How long? 35. Okay. 23. And then there was somebody else, wasn't there? 15. Let's give them a round of applause. Whenever I talk with advisors, I always like to start the conversation by saying thank you. You are taking the time out of your personal lives, your work lives to support our students on campus. And what you do makes a positive impact with our office, with our campus, with our local community, and with our students. So thank you so much for what you do for our campus and for what you do with our students. Well, you know, it's difficult because there's a lot of different roles that we play, and depending on the organization that you advise, you may take different roles depending on the organization that you're working with. But as we talked about earlier, I would say one of the biggest roles that you play is as a mentor. So cultivating our student leaders and really modeling the way for our students. I know we talked about that. Setting a good example. If your organization has a certain set of values or beliefs or mottos, you in fact as an advisor need to be setting an example for that and leading the way with that example. And sharing advice with our students on navigating personal and professional goals. I think your role can go well beyond the actual organization that you're advising. These students can look to you for support and assistance with resume building, networking when they're trying to find a job when they're graduating, and then personal problems or concerns or challenges they may have with a roommate, with a parent, with their classes. And just showing interest and investment in them matters to them. And that's what's going to keep our students engaged on campus and engaged in their student organization. Another role that I think you all take as advisors is team builders. So many of you don't work just with the average member of your organization. You're working primarily with the organization's presidents, council members, leaders, committee members, whoever they may be for your organization. And so you really have to build that team and establish that respect and trust and rapport amongst that team in order for your organization to work. Also assessing the strengths of the team, areas of growth, their work styles and their goals. Also assisting the organization with establishing a vision, making sure especially that the officers, committee members, all are on the same page as to what your organization is supposed to be doing on campus or in the community, or what they're supposed to be there for, and making sure everyone's on the same page with that. And then assisting with the transition of new officers. And I think that is always a struggle, is when you have brand new officers coming in or brand new members, because they don't know what they don't know. And you all that have been advisors for years now know sort of the lay of the land, and you can assist them with transitioning into their new positions while giving them some room to grow, make mistakes, be curious, ask questions, but also supporting and guiding them, because you know
what this organization has done in the past, and you can support them in that manner. I feel like sometimes I'm the cheerleader in the Greek community, that you can do it, especially as we get closer to the end of the semester and they are exhausted, they are stressed. And so you can really be there to be a motivator and cheerleader and help them. So I think you all as advisors can support them in saying, how are things going for you? How's studying for finals going? What can I do to help you and assist you? Encouraging students when they feel disheartened, frustrated, stressed, confused. As we talked about, as advisors, you need to allow opportunity for mistakes to happen. Sometimes our groups and our students are going to fail, and that's okay. And you know that, but our students may not. And so you need to be there to encourage them and say, it's okay. What can we work on to ensure that this doesn't happen next year? Or what can we do to process this? How did you feel about that? So making sure that you're there to encourage and support them no matter what is happening in their personal life or what's happening with the organization. Also recognizing their efforts to create change, accomplish their goals. We always say praise in public, so letting leaders in your organization know that they're doing a great job. Letting the average members, if they're attending meetings, if they are ready, if they're prepared and excited, saying thanks for being here. You know, I'm really excited about you being here and taking part in this organization, and recognizing the students' efforts, while also providing constructive feedback to motivate and challenge the group. That's what you're there for. So constructive feedback is what they need to hear. It doesn't always have to be, you know, everything is perfect and going well. It's, hey, I think we need to work on this area. We've done some great work thus far, but here are some areas that we need to work on and grow in. Okay, mediator. I also feel like this is most of my job, especially in the Greek community. And I think this is a challenge. I think this is a lot of times what students come to us for, to take care of for them. I think students have a lack of education on positive conflict resolution, and so they come to us to play the parenting role sometimes. Can you fix this problem? I'm in an argument with one of our members, or we're not getting along, or so-and-so is not doing their responsibilities, or so-and-so dropped the ball, and I'm really angry. Are you gonna talk with them? And I would challenge all of you to really think that peer-to-peer accountability is so empowering for our students. They need to be able to leave UMKC and go off into the workforce and be able to have those positive and strong conflict resolution skills to be able to work with anybody in a working environment. So that's what I would encourage you to do, is not really step in and do what they're asking you to do, and take a step back and say, I'm going to help you and support you with learning those good conflict resolution skills. But I think it's so empowering to our students to let their hold their peers accountable if an issue were to arise. Obviously not being biased towards a particular student or students, and always focusing on what's the best interest of the student or the organization. I think if a student comes to you with a challenge or a problem of, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to address this student or this situation, always think back to, we need to always revisit what's best for the student and what's best for the organization. A policy interpreter. This is why you all are here today, and why after I speak, most of what is going to be discussed is about policy and procedure here at UMKC. I think that is a challenge for a lot of our students, and I think that's where a lot of our students stop and then look to you to do something. I can't figure out root groups. Help me. Do it for me. Register my event on root groups. I don't understand it. And so they really look to you to understand the proper procedures and policies. And while I think that's definitely necessary to understand and have an education about it, I think it's more helpful if you assist them. Let's register for the group. Let's register for the event on root groups together. Let's do this together so we can all be on the same page of how to do it, so you can do it later on when another event comes up. So assisting our students in understanding how to work within university policy. I know also some of your organizations have headquarters or national groups that they pay dues towards, or they also have policies to follow. So there's a lot of different policies and procedures that our students have to be understanding of. So it's also important as an advisor to also have a basic understanding of those policies. Supporting our students in planning ahead, as we've talked about. I've also seen that be a big challenge with our students. If they're wanting to put on a big event or a program or doing something with their organization, sometimes it's very last minute. And I think, as Jody will tell you a little bit later today, we do what we can to accommodate our students. But the reason why it takes so long is there are so many key players that need to know about these events, and we only want a successful event or activity or what have you for your organization. But to help us help your students, please encourage them to plan in advance, to let you know if they're thinking about wanting to put a program on, especially if it's a large-scale event. And we also want these events to be successful, and that's why they need to be planned in advance, to make sure there's good publicity for it, good marketing, to make sure the flyer is up on Brew Group so other students can hear and see about it. So help us help them with pre-planning, that's always helpful. And make sure you're using us and OSI and the university as a resource. The advisor guide is up on our UMKC Get Involved page. You might have seen that when Richard put it up. It's a very lengthy document. Richard spends a lot of time updating it, condensing it, adding portions to it. That advisor guide that is on our website is very helpful. It kind of breaks down specific policies that pertain to student organization, policies that pertain to our student handbook, things to expect from our office, etc. A lot of the questions that are coming to us can be answered to that, and I think a lot of students don't utilize that enough as a resource. So encourage them to take a look at that, and take a look at that yourself. That is also will be very helpful to you all as advisors. Being involved advisors, but not overly involved. As we mentioned, you're an advisor, you're not a member of the group, you're not a leader of the group. So establishing that positive middle ground where you have a great relationship with the students that you advise, you've established trust and rapport with your students, they can come to you if they have a problem, but not becoming one of the members, because I think that's where you really lose credibility as an advisor, as someone who can provide sage advice and wisdom to our students, is really taking a step back and knowing that there's a difference between the collegiate members and yourselves. I think that's also very tricky because you want to establish positive relationships with them. So students should respect you, see you as a support and guide, but also recognizing that it's okay to say no and to set limits and boundaries. And I think I would look to the individuals in the room that have been advisors for a long time and know that, you know, it can get to a point where students are calling you late at night, asking you to do things, taking up a lot more of your personal time than you really should be giving as an advisor. So knowing it's okay to say no and to set clear expectations with your students and your organizations to say, hey, you know, you can reach me by email and cell phone, but no, I'm going to respond within 48 hours. I'm not going to respond within an hour or a minute unless it's an emergency. And just being very clear about your expectations with our students. Just because you're a volunteer and you have a personal life, and you should have a personal life, just making sure your students understand and recognize that. But also being visible. I think this is so crucial to our students for them to be able to get to know you outside of your advisory role and getting to learn about who you are as a person, what your needs and likes are, if you have family members, if you have pets, if you have hobbies. Our students love to know about these things about you. So if you've committed to going to meetings or events, making sure that you're there and you're visible. Like I mentioned before, being committed to answering phone calls or emails with the clear expectations of when they can get a response from you by, or what to expect from you. But also attending informal gatherings where students can learn more about you. I think that's very important, because then you're demonstrating to the students that they matter to you, that the organization matters to you, and these students take, you know, a part of your heart and they're a part of your life, and they need to know that. And I think they appreciate that and will appreciate you so much more by showing that they. So I'm going to end on this sort of cheesy anecdote, but be the best advisor you can be. So believe in your students, help them realize their potential, evaluate the effectiveness of the organization. Don't be afraid to challenge the students, but also support them on the back end. And also giving them the time that they need to get to know you, for you to get to know them, to establish that positive rapport with our students.